Well, I guess instead of doing my normal thing, this is what we're doing now. Oh yeah, speaking of which, since this isn't my content, I probably kinda have to just say this. Go subscribe or go check out Inside Edition YouTube and InsideEdition.com, which is where you can find this stuff. Like, you can find this stuff, you can find other weird stuff that to make sense, I guess.
Tension along the Ukrainian border, Russia launched a full-scale attack on its neighbor early Thursday morning. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced the military operation.
Don't you love that the way they describe it? It would be like me walking over to my neighbor's house with a gun and just standing there for weeks on end without setting down or even moving, and just being, and then after like a week, or after a couple of weeks of just saying, "Oh no, I'm just practicing hunting cows so I can sell beef." Just being like, "Hey buddy, bang bang, bang, bang bang, I know you have guns too, but bang bang."
Saying that the goals included the demilitarization of Ukraine. Putin said interference from other countries would lead to, quote, consequences that you have never experienced in your history.
The way he's the way he says that is actually borderline hilarious. It's like, we have big nukes. We nuke you. Yeah. We make lame threats.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has urged citizens to donate blood to help wounded soldiers. We are already handing out weapons and will hand them out to defend our country, to everyone who wants and has the capacity to defend our sovereignty. The future of Ukraine depends on every citizen. President Biden released a statement condemning Russia's unprovoked and unjustified attack, vowing, quote, the world will hold Russia accountable. Ukraine is a democratic country of about 44.
Yeah. When he said the world, yeah, that includes the straight up Taliban. The Taliban's like, "Hey Russia, you suck and you're a piece of trash and nobody cares about you."
4 million people. It voted for independence after the fall of the Soviet Union, and Ukrainian officials say the country plans to join NATO and the European Union. This is Inside Edition Digital.
If they join either one, it's either gonna be World War III or World War II World War II and a half. Electric Boogaloo, or more like Nuclear Boogaloo, but.
As Russia launches attacks on Ukraine by air, sea, and land, citizens have made the hard choice to stay or leave. This Ukrainian couple and their young children have packed their luggage and are walking across the border to Poland.
Well, we're going here to Poland, and then we may probably go to Cyprus.
To our friends.
To our friends, to stay for when the bombing, the hot situation comes down a little bit.
Friends and family members have let them know about their experiences since the Russian military operation started.
And friends, everybody is in Kiev now, and they are calling us and telling what is going on, and and it's awful. My husband told me that I'm panicking, and it won't happen, and now.
Russia, man, why? You were worse than World War II Nazis. You know what? Truthfully, Jews in World War II thought it was bad, but the way the Russia-Ukraine stuff is going, they might as well be Jews during World War II. Honestly, I think it would be better to be a Jew during World War II than a Ukrainian in the middle of the Russia-Ukraine war. Whee!
It's true, and this is absolutely incredible. And
Poland sits on Ukraine's northwestern border. Poland's parliament has pledged to support Ukraine.
It's incredible, not in a good way, but it's incredible.
And already has refugee centers ready for those who need to flee. World leaders have spoken out against Russia as Ukraine's government has asked for help.
The president also speaks to all the leaders and all the leaders of the free world, and we call for everyone to form the anti-Putin coalition to stop Mr. Putin and stop this attack on Ukraine.
This is Inside Edition.
To stop Mr. Putin. No, I thought it was Mrs. Trump. Yeah, I thought we were talking about Mrs. Trump here.
Digital.
From the moment Putin made the announcement of the invasion,
So, you know when you just see an ad for Dolly Parton, and it's like, why?
people of Ukraine started seeking shelter. This mom and her children are huddling inside an underground bunker where supplies and food are in short supply. She spoke with our Stephen Fabian.
The terrifying wail of an air raid siren as the citizens of Ukraine flee a nation under attack. The highways gridlocked. At Kyiv's main train terminal, there are long lines as thousands of people scramble to secure passage out of town. At the bus depot, ordinary Ukrainians clutching their children and pets, desperate to get away. For civilians.
Okay, that's just wrong. That is just wrong. Like, I make jokes about this thing, but there's a certain limit that you don't cross.
Who are now going to be on the move in great numbers. You see Ukrainians standing in these lines at ATM machines trying to make the impossible decision. Do I leave? How do I get my kids out? Should I stay and fight?
Many staying behind are taking shelter underground in the subway stations.
A lot of tears, a lot of people holding hands, a lot of people holding each other, and just waiting to see what comes next, where they go from here.
Olena Ness was awakened by shelling at 5 a.m. She gathered her children and headed to the nearest bomb shelter, where they huddle with neighbors. They sit in silence, stone-faced, the uncertainty and fear weighing heavily on them. Do you feel safe at all in there?
No, I do not feel safe being in the bomb shelter.
Yesterday, Olena's children were in school. Today, the schools and most businesses are closed. Nobody knows what the future holds.
We need your help. We need your arms. We need your troops. We need you to stop Putin.
Innocent civilians have been left bloodied and battered. The images are truly upsetting. American citizens.
Hey Putin, nice little war crime there, buddy. You're supposed to do this thing called leave the civilians out of it, and according to international law, you have to do that, and guess guess what, Adolf? That's a war crime, buddy.
Are also scrambling to get out. Aaron Starr from Napa, California sent us this video. He's in a car with his Ukrainian girlfriend fleeing Kyiv in heavy traffic. Out the window, he saw Ukrainians escaping on foot.
Look at these two images of Putin. The left is the Russian leader's video address from Monday, while the right is from last night when Putin announced the invasion. He is wearing the same suit and tie, leading many to wonder if they were shot at the same time, and if so, what could that mean?
It's a Putin mystery. The Russian strongman is wearing the same suit and tie 3 days apart.
He is wearing the very same tie, the very same suit, and sitting in the very same position that he was in on Monday when he gave that very long speech. And just raising the question.
Yeah, Putin just to be like, don't worry about me, I'm just having a 3-day long stroke. It just comes and goes, though, so it's actually just random strokes.
Could he have actually recorded this on Monday?
In both speeches, he slumped over and speaks belligerently. Does it mean he had already made up his mind he was going to defy the West and invade Ukraine? A resolute President Biden spoke today.
America stands up to bullies. We stand up for freedom. This is who we are.
Putin is being labeled paranoid and isolated. Isolation symbolized by his comically long 20-foot conference table. The war is pitting Putin against you.
Yeah, buddy. I have a lot of social issues for sure, but needing 20-foot long tables, that's a little extra, man, even for me. I generally like dogs more than humans. If I had the choice of beating a dog or beating a human, I'd choose you. Like just humans in general. I'd choose a random human before I'd choose a dog.
Ukrainian leader Zelensky. Zelensky is a former TV comic.
Imagine this, young president, a newcomer to politics, a famous comedian, a television star, and now look at his situation. He's got to stand tall against the Russian army and against the invasion.
Zelensky is showing his mettle, calling on his fellow Ukrainians to be brave in the face of the Russian invasion.
President Zelensky is not giving up in this fight.
Even as war raged, Zelensky met today with actor Sean Penn, who's in Ukraine shooting a documentary. There are now fears that Zelensky is at the top of a Russian most wanted list. Last night, as the world watched the crisis unfold, Donald Trump went on Fox TV to claim that Putin's invasion can be laid at the feet of the Biden administration.
He sees the weakness and the incompetence and the stupidity of this administration.
Reaction was swift.
Everyone needs to come together, Republican, Democrat, Independent, and support our president.
Oh, Trump, buddy. Buddy, old pal. Don't you just love how the world's going right now? Like, you got Trump, who has never done politics before becoming president, who just made hotels out of like 90% gold. And now you got Zelensky, a former actor and comedian.
Support our troops.
This ominous cartoon is going viral. It depicts Putin being patted on the cheek by the monster who triggered World War II, Adolf Hitler. Hopefully, Putin...
it's not wrong. He is the equivalent of Adolf Hitler. I think I'd become friends with Adolf Hitler way before I'd become friends with this idiot.
This invasion won't trigger World War III.
And the invasion.
Good joke. Good joke, buddy. Yeah. You're in a good... That was a good joke.
Is being felt on Wall Street today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average opened more than 700 points lower, losing more than 2% of its value, but it did rally before the closing bell.
Oh, so you're talking about Putin wearing the same suit. Oh yeah, these videos were shot and posted the same day, so never mind.
As the darkness of military conflict closes in on Ukraine, nations around the world choose light to show.
Those were somebody's houses before these idiots decided to start bombing everything.
Their support. Blue and yellow, symbolizing clear darkness of military conflict closes in on Ukraine, nations around the world choose light to show their support. Blue and yellow, symbolizing clear skies and wheat fields in bloom on the Ukrainian flag, have been projected across historical buildings and national landmarks. Italy's Colosseum, where gladiators famously fought to the death, was lit up with the colors of the Ukrainian flag Thursday night. Crowds gathered in Berlin, Germany, protesting Russia's invasion. They stood in front of Brandenburg Gate, a landmark that saw Germany split into East and West, then reunited again. Downing Street, the official residence and offices of the UK's Prime Minister, was illuminated in blue and yellow. This coming after Prime Minister Boris Johnson had strong words for Vladimir Putin.
He will never be able to cleanse the blood of Ukraine from his hands.
And from Flinders Street Station to the Rod Laver Arena and bridges around Melbourne.
Yeah, he will never be able to clean that blood from his hands. He'll always be known as the piece of trash that wanted to kiss Adolf Hitler and kill a bunch of people.
The capital of the Australian state of Victoria showed its support for the people of Ukraine. Australia's government has promised Ukraine to provide non-lethal military equipment and medical supplies. Sarajevo, Bosnia-Herzegovina, a city that faced ethnic conflict and civil war in the 1990s, projected the Ukrainian flag on its city hall. The United Nations building in New York City says it plainly: stand with Ukraine. Displays of solidarity like this will likely continue until Ukraine can once again display its own national colors. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm TC Newman.
Online vigilantes are joining the fight against Russia after its invasion of Ukraine. Hackers associated with Anonymous claimed responsibility for taking down Russian news site RT, which many decry as a propaganda outlet for Vladimir Putin. The result was only temporary, though. RT confirmed the distributed disruption of service on Twitter, but said it repelled the hit on its servers. The site is back up and running. Other hackers with the collective claim to have taken down websites associated with the Russian government, including the Russian Ministry of Defense. One Twitter account representing hackers says it does not believe sanctions imposed against Russia by other countries will be effective. It's calling on those nations to...
A loaf of bread in Russia costs $100 Russian. You sure about that? Yeah, and while they're spending $100 on a loaf of bread, I can just throw an American penny at the cashier and say, "Here you go, I'll be taking this loaf of bread."
Sever ties with Russia and expel its ambassadors from their respective countries. While governments are continuing to take action to punish Russia for its invasion, others are using whatever powers they have to put pressure on Putin to reverse his course of action. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
It's an image certain to infuriate Vladimir Putin. He's been morphed into the monstrous Adolf Hitler, and it's being carried in protests around the world.
You're going Hitler, monstrous. I truthfully think I like Hitler better than I like Putin.
Putin is also being compared to the Nazi madman who started World War II in other ways.
He's just simply mad. He's just simply crazy.
The Russian strongman is said to be in a bubble of isolation, increasingly paranoid.
I really wonder about his mental state.
Today, more questions were raised about Putin's state of mind when he went on TV and called the leaders of Ukraine a bunch of drug addicts and neo-Nazis.
Putin, buddy, old pal, my man. You're calling the people of Ukraine neo-Nazis and drug addicts? I want to know what stuff you're on, man. What are you on? Also, if they're neo-Nazis, I don't even want to know what you are. If they're neo-Nazis, you're straight up Satan.
Not rational. Bizarre, declares the Guardian newspaper. These American parents find themselves at Putin's mercy. Do you believe that your son is basically a political pawn at this point?
Absolutely, yes.
Joey and Paula Reed's son, Trevor, was visiting his girlfriend in Russia in 2019 when he was accused of assaulting a police officer after a night of drinking. He testified at his trial from a cage.
They asked me what happened. I told them, I don't know. I was drunk. I don't remember anything after I was at this party with Lena.
He was found guilty and sentenced to 9 years in a labor camp. His parents say there's video that proves he did not assault the officer. They believe...
Labor camp. Yeah, he has a Ukrainian girlfriend. He was arrested, sent to a labor camp. What do you think the Nazis did to Jews, Mr. Hitler? Mr. Hitler sent those little Jews into work camps. What does Mr. Putin Hitler do? Yeah, from now on I'm just calling Putin Vladimir Hitler. Yeah, the Vladimir Hitler puts people in a cage and sends them off to a work camp just like Nazis did.
He had a target on his back after the Russians found out he served in the U.S. Marines.
They could see that he'd had a very high-level top-secret clearance previously, as when he was in the Presidential Guard and worked at Camp David.
It made him a more attractive target.
President Biden took up the case directly to Putin during their face-to-face meeting last year.
I raised the case of two wrongfully imprisoned American citizens, Paul Whelan and Trevor Reed.
And now with Putin's invasion of Ukraine, the Reeds' hopes are fading.
We're concerned that negotiation talks that may have been happening are going to cease pretty quickly.
Here we go again.
Ukraine is not going down without a fight.
The sound of a machine gun rat-a-tat-tat.
Skirmishes lit the night sky over Kyiv as invading Russian soldiers meet stiff resistance. That fireball is a Russian plane downed by surface-to-air missiles. The sound of gunfire could be heard echoing across the capital. Blaring sirens warned of air attacks, sending people running for shelter. Ukrainian troops courageously manned strategic positions in Kyiv, blocking this major highway with tanks and their own bodies. A bridge into the city was blown up by Ukrainians to slow the Russian advance.
You know, Hold on, I gotta back this up to even remember what I was mad about. Hold on. Oh yeah. Soldiers really have to block the road with their own bodies. What is wrong with you, you piece of trash? Poor excuse for a human being.
Blocking this major highway with tanks and their own bodies. A bridge into the city was blown up by Ukrainians to slow the Russian advance. Ukraine is claiming to have killed 1,000 Russians, and there is evidence the invaders have, at least for now, lost the momentum. This vehicle was destroyed and the bodies of Russian soldiers lay nearby.
This is going to be Putin's really big mistake.
Ordinary Ukrainians and foreign volunteers are joining the fight.
U.S. and British intelligence say the Russians are facing resistance that they didn't think they'd face on day one. The Ukrainian government is handing out rifles for every able-bodied male to defend his country.
And these volunteers gathered in an abandoned factory are being trained in how to use Molotov cocktails.
You got to give them a lot of credit. They're fighting for their way of life. They're fighting for their families.
13 Ukrainian soldiers died rather than surrender their remote island outpost to a Russian warship. In the final radio transmission, they were told, disarm and surrender. Otherwise, you will be bombed. Their response? A Russian tank.
Ukrainians are awesome. Also, here's a Russian tank just full on going, hee hee. Well, that didn't come out right. Going full on, hee hee. Ah, that was even worse. Yeah, a Russian tank just going, hee hee. Actually, I'll just let the man himself do it for you. You have the Russian tank just full on straight up going. Oh. Volume generally helps with hearing things. Yeah, then when Russia came over into Ukraine, they were just like, you don't even want to know how much Michael Jackson, Smooth Criminal, I had to watch just to get to that point.
Crushed this car, trapping the elderly driver inside. Passers-by struggled to free him.
Всім добрий вечір.
From a secret location, Ukraine's president...
There's a massive landmark right behind you. Also, I just want to say it. So far from what we've watched, that is the worst thing that the Russians have done from what we've been watching so far.
Zelensky posted this video rallying his people. He says he is Russia's target number 1 and his family is target number 2.
And amidst the chaos, moments of united defiance from the people of Ukraine, joining voices underground, reminding many of the London Blitz of World War II. And just like those days, right above them, the sound of explosions and gunfire.
Shots fired at the train station in Kyiv as desperate Ukrainians scramble to get out. The platform is packed. With the Russian army now on the outskirts of the capital, citizens are fleeing. This is the long line of cars at the border with Poland.
This is the footpath border crossings.
CBS News correspondent Christina Ruffini is there.
We've seen moms carrying bags and carrying their children across the border. We talked to a woman who said she and her daughter had been walking for 18 hours. It's incredibly cold here. They walked overnight. They had 2 suitcases and a small dog.
For those who have chosen to stay, it was another sleepless night. They scrambled for cover as air raid sirens wailed. The city's subway stations were jammed with hundreds of terrified civilians huddled with their children and pets. At a maternity hospital, newborn babies were moved to the basement and placed on cots. One nurse keeps a child alive, pumping oxygen into her lungs by hand. These school children made their way into a bomb shelter in single file and sat together on wooden platforms, still wearing their masks. Maxim Smirkovsky from Dancing with the Stars has also moved to a shelter. He says he has...
Were they wearing their demo masks because of coronavirus? Or were they wearing their demo masks because of stupid? The little particles from all the bombs floating in the air.
No plans to leave Kyiv, his place of birth.
I'm going to do my best to make sure that I'm as safe as possible, but I'm not moving towards the border.
His wife, fellow dancing star Peter Murgatroyd, posted a poignant message on Instagram. Please pray for my husband. Please pray for Ukraine and the innocent civilians. Ukrainians are not giving in to defeat or despair. A church choir sang gospel songs at the entrance to a bomb shelter. And these grateful citizens applauded the courageous soldiers who are holding back the Russians. Here in the USA, the war in Ukraine really got to late-night host James Corden.
And I don't really want to make jokes about any other trivial news story that we found today because I can't shake the feeling of how utterly terrifying all of this is.
Hold on. Hold up. No. Look, this is Jews at a train station during World War II. That doesn't look too far off from Ukrainians at a train station. That's just wrong.
Another cost of war. The world's largest airplane has been destroyed. Officials inside Ukraine are reporting the Antonov Tu-25 cargo plane has been destroyed in a Russian assault on an airfield near Kiev. The Antonov Tu-25 was also called Mriya, which translates to the dream in Ukrainian. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba wrote on Twitter, Russia may have destroyed our Mriya, but they will never be able to. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba wrote on Twitter, Russia may have destroyed our Mriya, but they will never be able to destroy our dream of a strong, free, and democratic European state. We shall prevail. The Ukrainian defense industry estimates it will cost over $3 billion to restore the plane. The restoration shall be time-consuming. The Antonov Tu-25 Mriya was designed as part of the former Soviet Union space program. Mriya was the only one completed. It holds over 120 world records, including largest wingspan for an operational airplane, heaviest aircraft ever built, and the transportation of the heaviest payload ever airlifted. The Ukrainian defense industry sees Mriya as a symbol of Ukraine's aviation capabilities. They won't be able to destroy our common dream. Mriya will definitely be reborn. This is Inside Edition Digital.
The Russian invasion of Ukraine is affecting and upending all aspects of life there, and that includes healthcare. 3 blood donors were wounded and 1 died after Kharkiv Regional Blood Service Center was hit by shelling Friday. Afterwards, the staff had to move all the equipment down to the cellar, which now serves as the center's main unit and bomb shelter. Staff there work around the clock, receiving 350 donors a day. Some donors even had to spend the night inside the blood center so they could safely wait out the shelling. Meanwhile, in the Ukrainian city of Mariupol, the largest hospital in that region has been overwhelmed with civilian blood donors. The The hospital has the capacity for 200 donors a day and have had so many people trying to give, staff had to turn people away. This as the invasion enters a second week, and officials from around the world call for peace from Russian President Vladimir Putin and for him to pull back his troops. For Inside Edition Digital, an incredibly emotional moment that highlights just how dire the situation is in Ukraine. Natalia Abulyeva crossed the border from Ukraine into Hungary Saturday, entrusted with some very precious cargo, a stranger's children. Waiting at the border crossing on the Ukrainian side, she met a desperate 38-year-old man from her hometown who was with his young son and daughter. Border guards would not let him pass, since Ukraine has banned all Ukrainian men between the ages of 18 and 60 from leaving so they can fight for their country. Natalia says their father simply handed over the two kids to her and gave her their passports in hopes she would get them to safety. The children's Ukrainian mother was on her way from Italy to meet them, according to the father. He gave Natalia the mother's cell phone number and said goodbye to his children, wrapped up against the cold in thick jackets and hats. Clutching a piece of paper with the mother's phone number on it and with the little boy's arms wrapped around her neck, they crossed the border. The 58-year-old had to leave her own adult children behind, one a policeman, the other a nurse. Neither could leave Ukraine under the mobilization decree. On the border's Hungarian side, they waited for her to meet her children, for the steady flow of refugees streaming over the border. This little boy was crying when his cell phone rang. It was his mom, approaching the border to meet her children. When Anna Semyuk arrived, she hugged her son and went to her daughter, who was lying exhausted in the back of a car, wrapped in a pink blanket. Then she thanked Natalia. The two women embraced for several minutes and started to cry. Anna then turned to her children and told them everything will be okay and that they'll be home in a couple of weeks. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Stephanie Officer.
Fighting in the streets as brave Ukrainians repel the Russian advance. The Russian invaders are meeting fierce resistance across Ukraine. Their burned-out vehicles abandoned by the roadside. Video from a military drone shows a direct hit on an armored Russian column. CNN's Matthew Chance walked through the aftermath of a street battle in a Kyiv suburb.
What kind of munitions does it take to do that to a vehicle? There's unexploded grenades in various, like pineapple grenades everywhere.
A woman in Ukraine's second largest city shot this video diary after fighting there.
And this is the place where Ukrainian military destroyed a column of Russian light vehicles.
This video shows tanks halted by an unarmed human tide. Kira Rudik, a member of the Ukrainian parliament, tells Inside Edition she has taken up arms.
Before 5 days ago, I have
Russians will get their ammo stuffed in dead bodies, but they're afraid to get dead bodies stuck in the tracks? What?
never hold a gun in my life. And right now I'm training to use Kalashnikov to be able to protect whom I love.
Russian saboteurs are said to be painting signs on the roofs of high-rises, marking them as targets for an aerial attack. Ukrainians are being asked to cover them up, but some can be seen only with a UV light. There are signs that the Russian reverses are causing Putin's mental state to deteriorate.
He's increasingly unhinged.
He seems erratic. He's descending into something that I personally haven't seen before.
Hundreds of thousands of women and children are fleeing to Poland, triggering a humanitarian crisis. I spoke to CBS News correspondent Christina Ruffini, who was there. When these people make it across the border, right? Are you just noticing an immense sense of relief on their faces?
Ukrainians are tough people, and so far what I've seen is just putting one foot in front of the other and just
They're tough, that's for sure.
Taking it one step at a time, getting here is just step one, right? They've got to figure out where they're going next, where their kids are sleeping, how to get out of the cold, how to get some food. And so it's just kind of a steely-eyed determination to keep going.
You may not have known this, but Ukraine is popular with couples looking to have a surrogate for a baby. The cost there is less than half of that in the United States. Well, this couple's baby was born less than a week ago, and they have had a really stressful time trying to get from Kyiv back to the United States. They spoke with Ariane Mercogliano.
Imagine fleeing a war zone with a 2-day-old baby. Jacob and Jesse Bachman from Costa Mesa, California, found themselves in a harrowing experience after a Ukrainian surrogate gave birth to their beautiful baby girl Vivian in Kyiv last Tuesday. 2 days later, they had to evacuate. When you heard the explosions, what was your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is that we were going to be stuck.
The Americans hired a driver to take them to the city of Lviv, the pathway into Poland. Due to the mass exodus, what would normally be a 6-hour journey took them 27 hours. They shot this video of military vehicles lining the roads. When they got close to Poland, traffic came to a standstill.
We felt like, because she was only 4 days old at the time, and we had limited food and water, we felt like that we needed to get across the border as soon as possible.
So you walked?
We decided to get out of the car and proceed the rest of the way on foot, hoping to get to the border and across the border by sundown.
Did you have a stroller? How did you do that?
I carried the baby and
I carried the bags.
Yup, Jesse carried baby Vivian, and that's Jacob wheeling their big suitcases for 8 miles in the freezing cold. 4 hours later, they finally reached the border on foot and found complete chaos.
Fortunately for Jessie, the crowd noticed that she was carrying a 4-day-old and pushed her to the front.
But only women and children were allowed through.
I didn't have the baby's food or my passport because Jacob was carrying all that. And what they had to do was pass it over the top of the crowd and then throw it over the barbed wire fence and give it to me. Every time I thought that something was going to get better, it actually, and I'm not a pessimistic person, but it actually got worse.
The Bachmans spoke to me from their hotel room in Warsaw. They are scheduled to fly back to Southern California tomorrow. This was supposed to be the happiest time of your life, and it turned into a nightmare.
It was a nightmare for
you had a surrogate.
us, but
I'll shut to my mouth.
it's so much worse for so many other people. We're lucky enough that we get to go home.
He shares stirring videos from the bunker. He told the Americans he needed ammo, not a ride to safety. And thanks to his resolute leadership, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is being hailed around the world.
Всім доброго ранку, українці.
He's a hero.
So, in the last 2 seconds, what you missed is him saying he's a hero and
World. President Zelensky's defiant rejection of the American offer to fly him out of Ukraine is sure to go down in history.
Подоляк тут.
I need ammunition, not a ride, he's quoted as telling the Biden administration.
Zelensky and his family, knowing that they might get killed, are staying there and showing leadership.
No one could have predicted Zelensky's rise to universal fame and praise.
Что у тебя сегодня сдача?
After all, he's a former TV comedian who played the president on TV. He also won Ukraine's version of Dancing with the Stars in 2006. Stars at last night's SAG Awards paid tribute.
I would tell you, we have a fellow actor in Zelensky who deserves some credit tonight for fighting the fight.
The president of Ukraine was a comic. You know, he was a wonderful comic performer. And we should respect that for him. And to come to the presidency was amazing.
Even former President Trump, who was widely condemned for praising Vladimir Putin as a genius, is heaping praise on Zelensky.
Who, by the way, is a brave man. He's hanging in. He's a brave man.
Zelensky's physical heroism is there for all the world to see as he shoots selfies on the streets of Kyiv to let everyone know he's still leading the fight. Zelensky's wife, Olena, is also at his side, refusing to go into exile. She's currently in hiding with their 2 children at a secret location.
Were you kissing her in a bunker? Like, that doesn't have any survival equipment inside? It's just straight up 4 concrete walls and a toilet. Like, that's the only way you could get the sound of the kiss to echo that much.
As Zelensky fights on.
Some people are just born great. He's like that, and I'm speaking from experience. President Zelensky is a hero.
An outpouring of love at the SAG Awards for the embattled people of Ukraine.
My heart is with our international family all over the world right now.
The plight of the Ukrainian nation on the minds of everyone there.
And while tonight is a celebration, we are all at the same time holding a place in our hearts for the people of Ukraine.
Celebrities wore blue and everyone there.
And while tonight is a celebration, we are all at the same time holding a place in our hearts for the people of Ukraine.
Celebrities wore blue and yellow ribbons, the colors of Ukraine's flag. Michael Douglas sported a blue and yellow pocket square. At the NAACP Image Awards, Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan also showing their love for Ukraine.
We would like to acknowledge the people of Ukraine who urgently need our continued support as a global community.
Around the world, there were mass protests against Russian aggression. A mass of humanity. 100,000 people gathered at the Brandenburg Gate in Berlin, in Milan, in Times Square. Today, Russia finds itself isolated and scorned, a rogue nation right up there with North Korea and Iran. Pretty much every nation on earth has turned its back on Russia, imposing crippling sanctions that are shaking the Russian economy. Here in the U.S., liquor stores are showing solidarity for Ukraine by dumping Russian vodka. And Saturday Night Live got serious, opening the show not with the usual jokes, but with a Ukrainian choir singing Prayer for Ukraine.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night.
I caught up with the choir today. How much warning did you have that you were going to be on national television? 15 minutes?
I said how, we have to do it.
Ukraine's president is accusing Russia of committing war crimes after missiles hit the city of Kyiv. Video from the state emergency services shows a missile. Administration building in Ukraine's second largest city. The Central Freedom Square and residential areas were also targeted. President Volodymyr Zelensky says there are no military facilities in Kharkiv, and that Russia's only purpose in firing on the city was the, quote, deliberate destruction of people, adding, no one in the world will forgive you for killing peaceful Ukrainian people. Ukrainians are calling on other
They might be more peaceful than Putin, but I don't think they're very peaceful when you start trying to take over the land. They just walk up to armed soldiers, like a straight-up grandma walks up to, and an unarmed grandma walks up to a Russian soldier that has a gun and is like, put sunflower seeds in your pocket to make your body useful for once.
Countries to do more to punish Russia for its invasion.
You will die on our dirt.
Of the sovereign nation, asking for it to be completely isolated from the rest of the world. While ordinary people stand ready to fight off their invaders on their home territory, the international community is offering support
weapons, and sanctions against Russia, hoping to get President Putin to back down. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano. Ukrainian-born Dancing with the Stars pro Maxim Chermakovsky has been in his home country, but thanks to his American citizenship, nothing more than a backpack. Les Trent has more. Pro Maxim Chermakovsky has been in his home country, but thanks to his American citizenship, he has been able to leave with nothing more than a backpack. Les Trent has more.
It's chaos as Ukrainians scramble to escape war-torn Kyiv.
Can't make this up.
Among them, Maxim Chermakovsky from Dancing with the Stars. He documented his harrowing journey. I'm a big man with nothing but a backpack. It's traumatizing. Hundreds of women and children are crammed into every train. Walkways are packed. People everywhere. It's sweaty and claustrophobic. Men between the ages of 18 and 30 are forbidden to...
More World War II. You really suck.
...leave. But Max was allowed to escape because he holds a U.S. passport.
I'm at a station about 30 minutes before the border with Poland.
He shot this video when the train broke down close to the border. 31 hours, no sleep, until he finally made it in the early...
They say it broke down, but how do they know it wasn't Russia?
Hours of Tuesday morning. I'm in Poland. Thousands are arriving every day, desperate to flee the Russian bombardment. This little boy, all alone, sent away by his father, who has stayed to fight. Actor Sean Penn, who was in Ukraine filming a documentary when the Russians attacked, also made his way to the border. Today. He lugged his suitcase for miles after he and his crew abandoned their car. Back in Kyiv, we spoke to Alina Ness from a bomb shelter where she's now living with her children. She says the supermarkets are running out of food.
Why? Why, Mr. Vladimir Hitler? Like, why, dude? Why? Why pregnant women? Why children? Leave the women and children out of it. I don't care. I mean, if the soldiers, yeah, I guess kill them. But, I mean, that's what war is. But, leave the citizens, women and children out of it. Especially babies. Like, why do you want to get women and children involved, dude?
They were baking the bread just inside of the supermarkets, but they were given one loaf of bread.
In New York last night at the Metropolitan...
From the fact that you're holding a baby, I'm assuming that less than 6 months ago, you were also baking some bread.
It's an opera. The cast lined up on stage and sang Ukraine's national anthem, a gesture of solidarity in a time of war.
It's the horrifying moment a Russian missile blows up a government building in Ukraine's second largest city. And this is the shocking aftermath. The city square strewn with rubble. Rescue workers search for survivors. They find one man badly wounded on an
You know, I'm pretty sure somehow this war has managed to make me less scared of bombs and less afraid of weird governments that think they can take over the world or whatever this is supposed to be.
on flights of stairs that are miraculously still intact. The capital city of Kyiv is under attack as a 40-mile-long armored Russian column reached the city's suburbs.
This is starting to look like a go-for-broke situation for Putin. He has decided to throw everything at Kyiv in order to win a victory quickly. this might be a very decisive battle in the war.
The column is a sitting target for an air.
You know, Russia sucks so bad that they're losing a war to something that is less than 1/8 of their size. Actually, probably less than 1/14. Like, this would be like a real excavator going against an RC model design 1/14 scale excavator.
Real attack.
And then losing.
It's a wonderful target, and I think the Ukrainian military is looking for the right opportunity to engage it.
The Russians targeted a TV tower in a bid to disrupt communications. Published reports say a band of mercenaries has been sent to assassinate President Zelensky. CNN's Matthew Chance spoke with an exhausted-looking Zelensky today in a top-secret location in the city.
We had to walk through these very dark corridors, all of them lined with sandbags, with security forces everywhere, until we were like deep in the bowels of this huge building.
Appearing via video link, Zelensky was given a standing ovation at the European Parliament as he...
Well, you said you're in the bowels of the building. Is the building constipated? I need to know. Is it constipated?
...to fight on. This is all that is left of an apartment building outside the capital. More evidence that the Russians are committing war crimes by targeting civilians. Ukrainians continue fighting back. This video shows civilians tossing a Molotov cocktail from a passing car. And these civilians are sewing camouflage netting. There are claims that Russian troops have even been taken prisoner. These soldiers surrendered their arms. Some Russians are even reportedly sabotaging their vehicles rather than fight. And these civilians in a captured city are confronting the invaders, screaming at them, "Go home." Joining the resistance are famed brother professional boxers Vladimir and Vitaly Klitschko. Vladimir is the former fiancé of actress Hayden Panettiere.
Why is Vladimir such a popular name? Vladimir Putin, Vladimir Zelensky, Vladimir that guy.
United we're strong. Support Ukraine.
These newlyweds have also joined the resistance. Just hours after taking their wedding vows, they took another vow to fight for freedom.
Everyone here believes that we will win. That's just only a question of time.
The stakes in Ukraine could not be higher, with the Russian military making direct attacks on civilian targets like apartment buildings. And given Vladimir Putin's apparent willingness to escalate, Russian experts are now speculating about his mental state.
Has Putin gone crazy?
Yeah.
Is he losing his grip or his sanity?
Evaluating Vladimir Putin's state of mind a top priority now.
The Russian leader could be completely off his rocker.
Some people say
Putin makes Biden, straight up Biden, look like a good president. Like, compared to Putin, Biden is a saint.
Some people say he has brain fog from COVID. Even in Russia, citizens are buzzing. The Russian people may be starting to think Putin is insane. Goes this headline.
I tell you, I think this guy's nutter.
You think he's just kind of losing it?
Yes, I do.
Putin's mental...
I think this guy's a nutter. What's that even supposed to mean? I like it.
State.
You know, I think I'm gonna start using that word now.
Is getting late night laughs.
A growing number of U.S. officials and their allies are questioning Putin's mental state. Today, to show he's still sharp, Putin was like, person, woman, man, Smirnov, Borscht.
The war in Ukraine isn't working out the way Russia intended.
Not really. Not really. Like, Russia expected these dudes to just roll over like a harpooned whale while they're just like, yeah, bang, 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 bang. We Ukraine!
And on top
Bang,
of everything,
bang.
he was just stripped of his Taekwondo black belt by the World Federation, which condemned Putin's brutal attacks on innocent lives. There are reports that Putin has moved his family to a secret nuke-proof bunker in faraway Siberia. The Russian leader also owns Putin's palace, said to be one of the most expensive private homes in the world. An expose.
What? He said, what? Putin's palace. Why? Why, you piece of trash human being?
On Putin's palace is said to have infuriated the Russian dictator.
And the president of Russia built a real theatre at home, with a huge stage backstage, dressing rooms and luxury boxes. I'm not kidding. Inside Putin's palace, there is a full-fledged theatre.
With his invasion of Ukraine throwing the world and his own nation in crisis, no one can predict what Putin will do next.
I don't know if it's a mental state, but I haven't seen a lot of people that can understand strategically what Russia has to benefit by doing this.
They're probably just gonna be like, Afghanistan and just to be like, okay, now we're gonna change your name. Shut up, I don't want to deal with you. Just let me change my name and I'll leave. Well, my camera was just paused for like a whole video, but it was worthless.
Well, there's been much speculation about
poor excuses for human beings saying racism prevented them from crossing the border. Guess what? Ukrainians right now are more important than some American, some Pakistani. You let your citizens be safe before you let some idiot tourist / college student be there.
Vladimir Putin's mental state. There are also questions about his physical health. In recent photos, his face has appeared puffy and bloated, prompting some to ask if he might be on steroids or something else.
Growing mystery surrounds
On something.
strongman Putin's physical appearance. Recent photos show the Russian dictator looking puffy and bloated. Could he be ill? Even Nancy Pelosi is wondering.
Health, some people say he has cancer.
Or is something else going on here? Something a little more, shall we say, vain? We showed the photos to New Jersey cosmetic surgeon Steve Fallick for his take.
There are telltale signs of aging that have magically disappeared in his case.
Putin, obsessed with projecting a viral He-Man image, has been long rumored to be addicted to plastic surgery.
My thought is that he's had either a full facelift or a mini facelift. I can guarantee you, or pretty much guarantee you, that he's had his lower eyelids done, and I would also suspect that he's had some cheek filler done at the same time.
Well, the gunfire getting popping. Like, and by popping I mean more like rap. But it's popping. Lag.
A huge blast in the center of Ukraine's second largest city. Look at the destruction in Kharkiv, which is about the size of Philadelphia. This guy was shooting a selfie video when a missile struck. Rubble rains down, but miraculously...
You know, don't you just love the way he was just like, oh, there's a missile coming. That's awesome. If I'm lucky, it'll kill me. Instead of just like, getting my mom.
One civilian posted a video diary as she walked through the rubble.
Russia bombarded yesterday and in the night and this morning the
Russia.
historical center of Kharkiv. This is the downtown. Show this to those in Russia.
But with all the carnage, could Russia's invasion be crumbling from within? At least 300 soldiers are said to have surrendered. Others are refusing to fight. Videos of demoralized Russian POWs are posted on a Ukrainian website. This is said to be a young Russian prisoner being given a sandwich and tea by Ukrainian civilians before calling home. What can you tell us about the morale of the Russian soldiers?
They have been really hammered by the Ukrainians.
These Russian soldiers get treated better by Ukraine than they ever get treated by Putin. Like, Ukraine literally feeds them cheeseburgers and tea.
These young Russian soldiers, these conscripts, who've been sent to a place that they didn't know they were going into combat, is just, I just can't imagine what their mental state must be in.
The brave citizens of Ukraine continue to confront the invaders. This is the shocking aftermath of a battle in a Kyiv suburb. And look, sanitation trucks, burned out cars, sandbags, old tires, and a mass of humanity are blocking the Russian advance at one of the largest nuclear power plants in Europe. A Russian officer was seen holding grenades in each hand as he leads a delegation demanding the surrender of a Ukrainian town. And a Ukrainian government spokesman claims an elite force of Russian mercenaries sent to assassinate President Zelensky has been eliminated.
The cronies, and the noose is tightening on the cronies of Vladimir Putin. As President Biden said last night, the United States is coming after their assets, including yachts and properties estimated.
Here's the
to be in the billions. As Megan Alexander reports, the Justice Department is now actively deciding which oligarchs should be singled out for sanctions.
These super yachts are on the move today. They're owned by Vladimir Putin's cronies, and they're racing to get back home after President Biden vowed to come after the Russian oligarchs' prized possessions.
We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're coming for you, ill-begotten gains.
Putin's billionaire buddies have used their vast wealth to acquire luxury homes in London, Paris, and here in Manhattan, like this $45 million mansion just off Fifth Avenue. It's owned by a longtime Putin crony who is now barred from entering the United States. Private jets are also in the crosshairs. They're being tracked today by, would you believe, a 19-year-old college kid. Jack Sweeney runs the Twitter account Russian Oligarch Jets, and he spotted one of them landing in New Jersey this morning at 9 a.m., then taking off from Miami 2 hours later.
I can help people somehow in Ukraine by going after these Russian oligarchs.
Far from the USA, Putin is facing growing unrest at home over his war. Thousands of Russians have been thrown in jail, including these school children, photographed at a police station. This girl is still clutching the colorful sign she made. It reads, "No war."
Flowers for a new beginning. A Ukrainian woman waited on the train platform in Germany to welcome a friend fleeing their home country. Hundreds of refugees, mostly women and children, have been arriving in Berlin from Poland over the past several days as the Russian attack on Ukraine intensifies. Many Germans have reportedly offered to open their homes to arriving Ukrainians. The woman with the flowers scanned the crowd, holding up her bouquet, hoping to catch her friend's attention. She walked up and down the platform until they finally spotted each other.
A reunion they wish they could have had under better circumstances. Knowing all of these Ukrainians are out of harm's way may be small comfort, as the uncertainty of their country's future is surely following them to their countries of refuge. For Inside It.
It's the first major city in Ukraine to fall to the Russians. There they are, Putin's invaders marching through the streets of Kherson. Many residents went underground for safety. In the capital city of Kyiv, the bombardment continued overnight. CBS News correspondent Charlie D'Agata was stunned by a massive attack as he wrapped up a live report.
What the hell was that? It was almost like lightning. This is a big flash.
Then another flash lights up the sky. He dives for cover. The city of Kharkiv to the west was also pounded today. This missile strike was captured on dashcam video. The Ukrainians are putting up stiff resistance. The defense ministry released this video showing artillery being fired at Russian tanks. A brewery has been converted into a Molotov cocktail factory. They're also making spike strips to slow down the invaders. This drone video shows the wreckage of Russian military vehicles after a firefight. And questions continue to surround that 40-mile convoy on the outskirts of Kyiv.
But the long line of tanks and artillery is stalled, according to the Pentagon.
We do believe that they have experienced logistics and sustainment challenges.
President Zelensky held a press conference today seen around the world.
I have to talk with Putin. The world has to talk with Putin because there are no other ways to stop this war.
Military experts warn Putin, with his overwhelming military arsenal, has the upper hand. Do you believe then that this underdog story of the Ukrainians successfully defending their country is just wishful thinking?
Unfortunately, it is. The Ukrainians are fighting valiantly, but they're giving up ground continually. The Russian advance is it's a grinding advance.
Thousands of people in Kyiv are...
How much do we actually trust a fat guy with a round head that looks similar to Putin?
Taking sanctuary in the subway stations. Some have even set up tents. 1 million refugees, mostly women and children, have fled. We spoke to CBS News correspondent Christina Ruffini, who was on the Ukraine border with Poland.
A lot of these women have left their husbands, they've left their fathers, they've left their families behind. They don't know where they're going to go. It's incredibly.
Why does she blink so much?
Stressful.
Here in the USA, Dancing with the Stars' Maxim Shmerkovsky arrived home in Los Angeles after a harrowing journey out of Ukraine. Photographers surrounded him as he was greeted at LAX by his wife, Peta, who he met on the show.
And I just want to go home.
Soldiers are sending
Well,
Captured Russian soldiers are sending tearful messages to their families back home as the grim reality of war is sinking in for the Russian people. The nation was left reeling today with Moscow's official announcement that 498 soldiers have been killed in the invasion of Ukraine. The real death toll is believed to be much higher. In a bizarre appearance today, dictator Vladimir Putin went on Russian TV.
The thrust of this speech was all about trying to keep Russians on track with him and with his war.
At one point, he actually got up, then sat down again when he thought of something else to say. Fox News' Sean Hannity appeared to call for Putin's assassination.
New rule. You invade a sovereign country, you kill innocent men, women, and children, you forfeit your right to run a country and you forfeit your right to live.
This Russian POW...
Yes. Go die in a hole underwater with hundreds of venomous snakes and a wolf all trying to kill you at the same time.
Recorded a message directly to his mother to reassure her he was still alive.
I want to say to my mom,
Wait for me. I will return.
Published reports say the Ukrainian Defense Ministry has even invited Russian mothers to the capital of Kyiv to pick up their captured sons and bring them home.
Так точно. Домой хочу. Очень сильно домой хочу.
The chant "No to War" is resounding throughout Russia. In St. Petersburg, this brave old lady stood up to a goon squad of armored police during an anti-war protest. She is said to be a childhood survivor of the Nazi siege of Leningrad during World War II. 7,360 Russian protesters have been detained. Russian troop morale is said to be in a state of crisis in Ukraine. And how's this for a swan song? A mass walkout at Russia's last independent
You know when your cops are so bad that it literally takes 2 fully grown men in uniform just to arrest a tiny dwarf old woman, like an old woman dwarf.
TV news station after learning the government was blocking their broadcast. The swan song music, Swan Lake.
Yeah, you gotta love Ukrainians.